Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here today on episode 2356 of the Cabral Concept, and we are going to be covering a really important topic today. It is 2 early warning signs not to ignore. So it's really important that we begin to listen more to our body, not just the outward appearance of the body, but actually what's going on in our body that we can easily track through some type of biometric-based device like an Apple Watch, an Oura Ring, a BioStrap, a Whoop strap, whatever you like to wear, right? So you can track these things on a daily basis and you can begin to see if you are out of range. So even if you're not tracking these things, I'm going to give you easy ways to be able to test them yourself. It's just 2 things. And it's not important necessarily, although you can look at it on what happens on any one day. But when you start to see a trend where multiple days in a row, you're suffering from these 2 particular things, you want to take notice, okay? So again, we're not here today to give you any medical diagnosis, a medical treatment plan, a medical cure. You know that we can't do that on a podcast. But what we have to do is we have to understand is that we are in control of our body. If we listen to our body, we can catch things sooner and begin to repair them, right? Bring that body back into a state of equilibrium. So I'm going to share with you 2 easy things, and I want you to test these things tomorrow or even today if you can, all right? And I'm going to give you the healthy ranges to be in. Now, if you're not, I'm going to also give you some possible reasons as why you might be out of range. Your job is to get back in range as quickly as you can. All right. So, and again, these things are just never shared with you through conventional medicine. I think it's really too bad because it's well within the range of conventional medicine. It's just, they just don't share anything in terms of preventative medicine or health care in general. Most doctors, not all, but it's about sick care. It's like something happens first and then you receive the medication. It really needs to be about you start to feel something is off or you recognize something is off, and then you fix the body before it gets too far into a disease state, before that rain barrel begins to overflow, right? All right, so let's dive into it. The first parameter that anybody can look at on a daily basis is their body temperature. It can be any time of the day, but the best time to take your body temperature is upon waking. But it can be any time of the day. Just can't be after a workout, of course, because you just worked out. So it's potentially you'll run a little bit warmer. All right, or after a sauna, of course. So let's do this. First thing in the morning or just at rest, on the couch at night, sitting down at your desk, anytime. I've got all sorts of thermometers you can use. I've got under the tongue ones. I've got, which is the most, not necessarily the most accurate, but very, very accurate. And I give you some professional ones to use. I've got the forehead, which the temporal one, that's not my favorite. I'll use it for infants or young kids. Air, the one is great that you can use in the air, which is the disposable caps. Anyway, easy to do. And what I want you to do is just choose one. That's it. And again, you can find all of my resources at stephencabral.com/resources, all the ones I use in my practice and for my family as well. All right. So what should your body temperature be? Well, most people are like, well, it should be 98.6. Sure. 98.6 is the standard. Nothing wrong with being 98.6. If you're 98.6, body temperature is good to go, right? That's it. Like it's good to go. So why does this matter? Well, when you're using a lot of these biometric-based devices, I'm wearing one on my finger right now, right? I use multiple, is that it's going to look at it on a daily basis, and it's going to let you know what your body temperature is. Your body temperature should be in the 98s. What does that mean? It means 98.0, 98.2, 98.4, 98.6, 98.8. That's the readings that you can be. They typically do it by 0.2s, and it's even. Most, not all, but most devices do that. So if you're not in the 98s, is a potential issue. Now, is it just one day? Okay, maybe it's just one day. But if it's a week, it could be a sign of an issue. Again, we're not here to give you a diagnosis, but let's go through what it might be. So if it's above 98, pretty straightforward. Your body's dealing with some level of acute inflammation, stress in the body. There's some mild fever. Now, it could be a high fever if it depends on, like, if it goes above 100, right? But if it's 99 something, okay, we don't always know we're sick. Like, that's the thing. Our bodies are always fighting off all sorts of different pathogens from the environment. That's all that it may be. It could be something more serious, but that's something that you should see go up and then come back down. The more of the issue we see in our practice, especially with chronic dis-ease in the body, is that people are low. They're in the 97s. So they're 97.6, 97.2. Believe it or not, we even see people in the 95s and 96s. 96 is very, very low. I've only seen one person or maybe two people in the 95s, which is really low, like way too low. You're just not going to have the energy, the enthusiasm, the zest for life with a low body temperature like that. 97s, yeah, borderline. We'll talk about that. But below that, way too low. And just circulation in general, you're not getting it. There is an issue with heat in the body. So let's go over the items that may cause you to have a low body temperature. The first one is low thyroid. If your thyroid numbers are above a 2 on your TSH, and again, you can go free T4, free T3, it's an issue, right? We've talked about the thyroid as the thermostat of the body. Make sure your body temperature is in the 98s. If not, assess your thyroid. You can look at that by running a stress, mood, and metabolism test right at home. You can find those labs with your local naturopathic doctor, your local integrative health practitioner level 2, or right at stephencabral.com/labs. All right, the next one to look at is blood sugar. I've let you know this before. You don't have to use a continuous glucose monitor, but you can, a CGM. You could even just give your finger a little poke in the morning, take your glucose upon waking, or anytime you're feeling low, when that body temperature is low. What's your blood sugar level look like? Is it between 70 and 90? Okay. If it's below that, well, that could be a reason for low blood sugar, especially if it becomes chronic hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. All right. The next one is chronic stress and low cortisol. Chronic stress can lead to low cortisol output. Most likely by then you may have low thyroid as well, but this can also be a lower body temperature. The next one is low iron or anemia. If you're not transporting enough oxygen in those red blood cells, there can be an issue. Poor circulation, poor movement, even, excuse me, what we used to call red blood cell rouleau, or even fibrinogen in the blood, clotting of the blood, or low iron, like I said, low oxygen can be an issue. Chronic low-grade systemic inflammation. This is different than that acute inflammation from a virus, infection, injury, etc. This is like over time chronic inflammation from Lyme, mold, candida, parasites, bacterial overgrowth, gut issues in general, right? H. pylori. And another one could be just fasting too long. If you overfast for your body, not for everybody's body, but for your body, you can actually start to go into a lower metabolic state. So think of lower body temperature as lower metabolic state. Lower cortisol, lower thyroid, lower blood sugar. It's low, lower oxygen. So just think about that. So now that you know, well, you know how to look at these things. Look at cortisol, even blood sugar and thyroid through the stress, mood, and metabolism test. You can look at your iron levels by running your complete blood count and your ferritin and TIBC with your PCP, your doctor, your medical doctor. All right. So really important to look at that. All right. Next thing we're going to look at is the second parameter. So one, you're going to look at your body temperature. All right. Just over the course of a week, or when you start to feel symptoms, hey, is your body temperature in the 98s? That's it. All right. The next one is this: high or low heart rate at rest. I'm not talking about in a sauna. I'm not talking about in a cold plunge. I'm not talking about exercising, doing your sprints. I'm talking about at rest. What's your heart rate when you wake up? What's your heart rate during the day? That's it. And again, all these little biometric devices can track your heart rate. That's the great thing about them, is like you just literally can keep track throughout the day. What's your average during the day? What's your average sleeping overnight? What should your heart rate be? Well, let's go through that right now. So believe it or not, your heart rate can be too low. People say all the time, well, no, I've got a really low heart rate because I'm an athlete, I'm a runner, I'm a whatever. Okay, well, maybe. but maybe there's an issue as well going on. So we're going to talk about that. So the current medical recommendations are a heart rate between 60 and 99 beats per minute. It's not my ideal functional heart rate for someone. So I'll give you, that's the medical range. But remember, think about this. The higher your heart rate, the more your body is working even while at rest. And we want the body relaxed at rest. So if you start, I have had many clients in my practice with a resting heart rate in the high 80s to early 90s. So high 80s, like 88 for heart rate or 93. That's their resting heart rate seated. Think about it. When they go out to exercise, they're already up to like 130, 140. They get exhausted easily. Why are they so exhausted easily? Well, they're already walking. Like my walking would be like an 85 for a heart rate, right? When they're seated, they're at an 85. So you can see that for them, they're basically like it's walking all day long and they haven't even stood yet. Now, when they walk, they're already at 110. So you can see how exhausting this is for the body. And if you're in the health profession, you're a personal trainer, you're someone that works with clients, understand that a deconditioned person with a higher resting heart rate, working out is just going to feel more intense for them. So we have to keep that in mind, right, for our clients. All right, so for me, my range is 50, we'll put it that way, 50 at night, sleeping, no problem. But if you're waking during the day, about 55 to 75. That's my sweet spot range, not really higher than that. If you're in the 80s, not ideal at rest. And if you're below 50, again, I know that there can be arguments made and I'm willing to entertain them, but not for the average individual. If you are a elite, athlete, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But it also may mean that you have cardiovascular issues. That's the other thing. So let's talk about that. High heart rate can be high levels of stress. All right. So it's important to keep track because, again, this might not be a serious condition, but your body's showing like, listen, you're stressed. You're producing more norepinephrine, higher levels potentially of cortisol. Your body is stressed. And it's showing you that, right? The other is blood sugar dysregulation. So a low in blood sugar, a drop into the 60s, can spike cortisol, which can then also help spike heart rate, right? So if that happens, well, you can go low heart rate, boom, and then spike. I used to get that all the time when I had Addison's disease, couldn't control blood sugar. So my heart would just start to flutter when I was getting towards low blood sugar and my body was producing more norepinephrine and cortisol. All right, the next one is, instead of a low thyroid, could be an overactive thyroid, and that's why you have a higher heart rate. Could be you have anemia. I know we spoke about this earlier, but low oxygen from your Bs, vitamin C, copper, iron, etc., can go both ways, higher or low heart rate, just not balanced. Medication side effects. I didn't mention that earlier, but medication side effects can go both ways as well. Like blood pressure medication, etc., can drop that heart rate. Other medications can increase it. Really important to look at that. Caffeine. You might be someone who's just sensitive to caffeine. Take your heart rate before coffee, and then a half hour after some caffeine, black tea or coffee, all right? Also, electrolyte imbalance, all right? So this is going to go for high and low. I'm just talking about high right now. High electrolytes, offset electrolytes, such as maybe more sodium or more calcium, can lead to higher heart rate. Really important to look at that as well. And again, we're talking about at rest. All right, so definitely above a 90, right? I would say above 80, 85, but certainly above 90. And then low heart rate, which could be called bradycardia, basically this is an imbalance in the sinus rhythm, can be a few things. And that's why, again, I work with all sorts of elite athletes and work with executives, et cetera. And they're like, oh, my resting heart rate is a 48. And I just said, you know what? It might be fine, but we need to check on this. Like, we need to make sure it's fine because it can be all of these things as well. So don't always think that super low heart rate is healthier, right? It's always about equilibrium. It's always about balance. So it could be an atrioventricular block in terms of the heart. It could be some swelling or inflammation in the heart muscle. That's why, a marathoner might say, oh, my heart rate's great. It's a 36 overnight. Well, I've worked with someone like that. I don't know that that's healthy because we know that marathon runners, endurance athletes, can actually get micro tears in the heart and they can die at a younger age. They get a lot of inflammation in the heart. We can also look at overall heart disease. Important to look at that. Someone with sleep apnea. So we'll want to make sure that the person does not have sleep apnea. We'll also want to look at what type of medications they may be on, and if that could be a side effect, such as, opioids could be an addiction or could be actually prescribed. I know that most doctors are trying to do less of that, but important at least to look for it. And the other one is a potassium imbalance. So sometimes with heart rate irregularity or too low a heart rate, it could be higher levels of potassium. It doesn't mean the person's necessarily taking in too much potassium, but maybe their kidneys are not regulating sodium and potassium properly, or they're taking in not enough sodium as well. Maybe they're on a low sodium diet for some reason. So these are all reasons, not all the reasons, but these are the most common reasons I see in my practice for people with a high or low heart rate. So your goal is simply this, is not to worry, not to get upset, anything like that. You just want to test your body temperature. Test your body temperature every day if you can. Just do it for a week or two. And then if you ever feel off, test your body temperature. It should be in the 98s. If it's not in the 98s, begin to explore. If you're only going to run one lab, I would run the stress, mood, and metabolism for that. But I really love people to run the big 5 if possible, because it looks at inflammation with omega-6s, looks at heavy metals, looks at electrolytes, looks at gut function, mitochondrial function, etc. So ideally the big 5 labs. If not, the starter kit and the stress, mood, and metabolism would be a great 3 labs instead of the 5. Same with the high and low heart rate. Again, we're looking at cortisol. We might be looking at blood sugar dysregulation, thyroid, all those you want to be looking at with the stress, mood, and metabolism. And then in terms of electrolytes, you want to run that minerals and metals test. That's if you want to add the starter kit. Again, that's part of that test as well, those 2 labs. You can find these at stevencabral.com/labs. Again, I share that with you so that you understand that knowledge is power. You can run the labs with anybody you'd like, but just know that they are available to you and you can run them right at home very simply, very easily, little saliva sample, and then other ones might be urine sample, etc., but really easy to run. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, get that body temperature in the 98s on a daily basis and make sure in an ideal world, your heart rate is somewhere between, let's say, 55 and 75 beats per minute. If it starts to go in the low 50s during the day, it's okay. Like that's not bad, but when it gets in the 40s, think about it. Look what's going on in your body. Might be nothing, great. And then also if it starts to get into that 80s or 85 and above, what's going on in terms of stress on the body, all right? Hopefully this was helpful. Thanks so much everyone for tuning in. Always feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.